So I would quickly introduce you just for the camera, and then we would be jumping on to the questions. So what you get when you mix a Delhi boy with a love of art, a New York restaurant with a Michelin star, and a farm full of heirloom vegetables. You get to guess which is Chef Suvir Saran. And from sketching at Sir J.J. School of Arts to stirring pots at Delhi, one of the New York's first Indian restaurants, to a Michelin star chef, Suvir Sir's journey has been nothing but extraordinary. He's been cooked for celebrities, taught at Culinary Institutes of America, judged MasterChef India, and even raised goats at a 70-acre farm in upstate New York. But through it all, he stayed rooted in one belief that food is a story of love, identity, and culture. He's an author, a farmer, and advocate for sustainability and inclusion, and above all, someone who reminds us that the best recipes come from the heart. Please join me in welcoming the incredible chef, Chef Suvir Saran sir at I.I.M.U.N's Recipe for Success.
Thank you, thank you for having me, Murthy, into the I.I.M.U.N. How kind you all are. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Chef Saran, actually, I am very fond of knowing all the stories from the very first moment. So, why don't you take us all back to the very first moment when you cooked something entirely by yourself? Not because someone had asked you to, but because you were curious, inspired, or just hungry. What did that experience teach you about food or about yourself, and that still stays with you today?
So I was 5 years old. Our family was living in Nagpur. And my father had moved there to be part of the Income Tax Academy where he was teaching. And my mother was a student doing her MPhil and PhD in economics. And my sister was the eldest, who was, I think, 8 years old. My brother was six, and I was five. And going on five, four going on five. And there was a dinner party happening at home that I remember that much. And my mother hadn't come back from school, and I was nervous. How will she do everything? So, as a 5 year old, I chopped up cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, and made the salad. And that was the first thing I remember cooking on my own. It was no cooking, just chopping and cleaning. But the kitchen in Nagpur became a metaphor for safety. I was a 5 year old who had not yet gotten the word gay in his head. Aberration, that I was different, that I was condemned, that I was unsafe in a heteronormative world, that I was at risk if anybody found out my real identity. I didn't have words for it, I didn't have a term for it, but I knew I wasn't interested in loving a woman as my father loved my mother. I knew that I wanted that other to be a man. So the kitchen became my safe haven. It's where I hid between the folds and pleats of my mother's sari. If the world couldn't see me, I felt safe. If the world couldn't judge me, I felt safe. And so the kitchen has always been a haven where I found safety, where I found comfort, where I found the ability to do something that would perhaps get me more love than hate and scorn. So I have an old relationship with the kitchen.
Understood. That 5 years old, I don't think so that I remember going to the kitchen as well, because I hardly know to cook Maggie also. But truly inspiring that since 5 years old you have started your journey while chopping the vegetables to now being an amazing
You know, food is not just a journey, it's a calling, it's a passion, it's for me, beyond the vocation, it's the only thing I know how to do where I feel I can give to another. And it's also selfless giving. Because you never know what you're making, how it will be taken, how it will be received, whether it's a subjective indulgence. So your one person's comfort can be another person's anathema. And so you take a risk when you make food for another because you may like it, they may not. But what you are giving for sure is complete indulgence to another, because with your hands, with your mind, with your sweat, with your passion, you're cooking for another with the belief that you want to nourish them. And so I tell people never to be afraid. The act of cooking is a full, heartfelt act of giving to another of yourself. And the rest, if they don't like it, they don't like it, but that doesn't mean they won't respect you for having made the effort. And kind people, humane people, circumspect people, decent people will never judge you. Because I tell people you can't go wrong when you cook for another with love, with care, with mindfulness, with thoughtfulness. The ingredient of love can never be replaced by anything and never be hated by somebody who's human. So really, go out and cook. You can make poison and people will love it. Rana Vishro Pyala Bheja Pia Magan Hoya. Meera went even crazy drinking the poison sent by the love of her life. So before by the lover, by the man who she was married to, sent her poison for the love she had in Krishna, and she took it. Because when your love is the calling, the rest doesn't matter. And I think that's where my relationship with food is.
Totally. So speaking of your journey, you grew up in Delhi and to cooking at Delhi now. So one of the most iconic Indian restaurants in New York. So feels like something that which is out of a movie. So but behind that success, there must have been moments of doubt, pressure, and some big choices that you had to
You know,
make. So
we opened Devi in 2004. The world was, Instagram didn't exist. This conversation couldn't have happened. And the world was both more innocent and more harsh. There was danger in being the other, and there was curiosity for the other. So when we opened Devi in 2004, there was nothing, nobody had ever eaten, dreamt of doing Indian food that mirrored the degustation menu of a French restaurant. I dared to dream. I was this homosexual man living in America, wanting to change the world, wanting to be an out and proud Indian, showing the world that I could be Indian, I could be gay, I could be creative, I could shatter ceilings that were not mine in stereotype to shatter, and I did. I dreamt of doing a degustation menu, which means tasting menu where only little small bites came one after the other. There's nobody really doing it in the Indian realm even today. We make apologies for tasting menus. We think we know how to do them, but we haven't really done them yet. And we did that in 2004, 2003 in New York City. And of course, we got the first Michelin star that any non-Northern European restaurant got in North America. And people were curious, people were excited, people blessed it, people followed it, they gave it their money, they made it a success. We made profit, and the rest is history. And Devi lasted for a good 10 years. And then it wasn't because it wasn't popular that it closed. I left the partnership because something unfortunate happened and I couldn't make my peace working in the partnership. I left. The newspapers announced that I had left, and a few weeks later, people stopped coming. And the restaurant is driven by a personality, driven by an ideology, and if the person who's driving it leaves, often restaurants close. And so that's what happened. But in the meantime, I'd written three cookbooks, and I had consulted on many projects. I was travel sometimes 20 days a month to cities far and wide. Taught at cooking schools. I was the head of the Asian Studies Center at the Culinary Institute of America for a good part of 20 years. I chaired the Asian Studies department there. I had classes at the CIA with Harvard School of Public Health. I was invited to all the forum where food and politics of food and lifestyle were discussed. And I enjoyed it. And I came here in 2016, 2017 to die. I'd gotten ill. I went blind for 18 months, lost memory for almost 2 years. And when I recovered, I'm as normal or crazy as I ever was. And then I decided I'd left everything there. I've nothing now in America, but I have a dream of making it in India. So I work hard every day. I'm the culinary director for I.I.M.U.N restaurant, for which is part of the True Palette Hospitality, a company that runs I.I Commune for Virat Kohli, that runs Jolene for Amrita Arora, that runs Numa for Karan Johar, and Pin Code for Kunal Kapoor. We are in almost 13 cities. We are in 2 countries and growing. And I have thousands of chefs and staff members that I hope I inspire daily through a mind that thinks out of the box by bringing food that's tasty but carries stories and memories, that has a heart and a soul in the right place. And we hope to feed customers not just delicious food, but tasty memories that last longer than the meal and stay with them forever. That's the goal.
Truly exceptional, sir. Um, Being through all of this, and also, you truly define success. That everything can go wrong, but if you have the will and the hope, then you can do anything. But
I think that is the key to both life and cooking, that you have to have a will and a desire and put hard work alongside it. And you keep stirring the pot and you keep stirring the metaphorical pot of life, you'll always get somewhere. And I think in this day and age, when we have people tearing us apart into many different identities, ideologies, across borders and across political landscapes, food, conversations, literature, art, the soft power that we have in our emotional quotient that we can manage without tearing each other apart. It's that which can keep the bridges built and building new ones where divides come through because of human hunger for madness that gives power to people. So I think the arts play a very big role.
ultimate goal is to not to lose hope. So yeah, but seeing all of that, not many chefs, famous chefs, choose to trade fine dining kitchens for special, peaceful life on a 70-acre farm. So, what is it about farming that appealed to you, and has nature ever taught you a lesson that no classroom or culinary institute ever managed?
I always wanted to have chickens. My parents, when we were in Nagpur, I was at that point 7. One day, my mother came home in the evening, and there was the doorbell rang around 7:38 in the evening, and we were all in our rooms doing homework and everything. And my mother came into my room, Baba, is there a goat somewhere? And I showed her there was a goat in my arms. I had brought home a goat, a baby goat, when I was walking back from school. And I didn't know goats belong to people. She was a wild goat running around. I picked up the baby, came home, and she followed me. I brought her home. And I fed her, was holding her. And the shepherd came yelling and screaming in Marathi, which can, at best of times, can be a very tough language to hear. And she was cursing and everything. And my mother gave it back to the lady and apologized to her. And I had to give the goat back. The goat and I had been together since 2 in the afternoon, madly in love with one another. But I'd never been able to have a chicken. My mother, I had all kinds of animals and birds, but chicken I couldn't have. So I wanted chickens, and one day Gail Green, the food critic of New York Magazine, had gone on a weekend away in from New York, just a 2-hour drive away, and fell in love with this lakeside home. So Charlie, my lover, and I, we were together 20 years. We decided we'll get a weekend cottage. The weekend cottage became, oh, we should have room for at least 2 or 3 friends joining us, to becoming a big farmstead where we could host 20 people to stay with us around Christmas, New York, and all the holidays. We created a coupe which Michael Batterberry, the founder of Food and Wine magazine and Food Arts magazine, called the Palazzo de Pollo, the Palace of Chickens. It was the first and only chicken coop of its kind, where literally chickens lived like they lived in a palace. We had windows with storm windows, with shutters, with rafter windows on the ceiling, so that the ammonia could exit. Because ammonia rises, it would go out of the building without bringing the elements in. We had natural lightings, skylights. So there would never be any force on the birds by putting artificial light to bring natural light in. Our birds lived in a spa. They produced eggs when they wanted to. I had 200 plus chickens of 36 plus varieties. the entire farming community around me, my friend Marisol Presiya, who was one of the greatest New York chefs and also bird experts, said to me, "You are get ready for World War III." I said, "Where?" She said, "In your farm, in the chicken coop." I said, "Why?" She said, "Who brings 36 kinds of birds into one coop? They'll all kill each other." There was no bloodbath. When we left, almost 20 years later, the chickens, not one had killed each other. They lived in the way that the United Nations had envisioned the world to live, cohabiting with decency and respect for one another. The birds came as 1 day old birds. You know, the eggs were sent and they would hatch as they came to you. So birds would like peeping, peep, 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 peep. You would road, they would be coming out of their eggs as they arrived at your doorstep. So 200 birds arrived, the first order. And those birds were small, big, feathered, with feathers on their feet, with feathers on their neck, dancing birds, Polish birds, 36 plus varieties, even boys, roosters, who were fighting phoenix roosters, big show cocks, all arrived. Nobody ever fought at our farm. From birth, they had never seen either despair, hunger, aggression, or discomfort. They had nothing to fight for. So these birds came of age not knowing what fighting was. And their life taught me a lesson, and everybody else. Now, fast forward, Story Publication, which is a publishing house that does books on farming for Americans, published a story on the best chicken coops that you could have, and ours was one of them. But beyond the chicken coop, there was a philosophy that when you bring people in, a child doesn't come into this world wanting to be a terrorist or a murderer or a rapist or anything else. Society is the paint and the brushstrokes that that child learns from and becomes a painting or aggressive or innocent or clean or broken. So I think humans have to learn that we are the reason our kids become what they become. And so if we give them better lives, better impressions, better spaces to grow up in, we'll have less strife, less tearing us apart in the world we inhabit and the one we share with others that are innocent. Because every day innocent children are born and we color them with terrible ideas and give them terrible practices to emulate, and then we wonder why we have terrorists in our midst.
Right. That's truly very, very, very good to hear, sir. Because in our office also we have two cats.
You have what?
Two cats.
You have cats? I had two cats also in America. One lived to be 19 years, one lived to be 21. Kali and
Oh,
Simba.
okay. We have Max and Lily at our office who are there 24/7 with us. But you have spoken in many of your interviews about your mother's influence on and how home food has shaped your identity. So if you had just one dish make for your mother today, something that would truly would capture your love or gratitude and everything that you have become today, what would you make?
It will depend on her mood. I think I cook looking at the seasons. I cook looking at the occasion, the simplicity of it, or the grandeur around any given moment in time. So anywhere from a simple dal chawal sabzi to a biryani that my friends tell nobody can match in this planet. I have Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, Yahudi friends from across the world who sit at my table and eat a vegetarian biryani and think no meat biryani can be better. So I could be making that. I could be making a tahiri, which is a kayas pulao. I could be making pasta. She loves my pastas because I make Italian pastas authentically with a lot of love. I could be making dahi badas or chaat papri or behel puri, depending on what she, I think, is craving, what the call of the moment is. Or I could be making a trifle pudding because she made the best trifle ever in the planet. And then when she would visit us in New York, we would have shearing day in the middle of summer. I had 70 or so alpacas. We had to do shearing of them for their fiber, and we would have 40, 50 people, neighborhood people who would come with their own alpacas to bring to the shearers. So everybody's alpacas could get sheared and that fiber could be collected. And that day, my mother and I would cook desi khana and couple of desserts. And that trifle that my mother would make, I would started making. People would go crazy. So this Indian woman's donuts were made at the French Laundry, the highest rated restaurant in North America. The pastry chef fell in love with my mother's donuts, the recipe I shared in my second cookbook, American Masala. So I could be making a donuts or her famous trifle pudding and or just a rabdi kheer because on our home kheer is made with the luxury of time. People put lots of chawal and milk to thicken it. My mother will put for 4 kilo doodh less than a quarter cup of chawal. But what it takes is 8 or 9 hours of cooking to thicken the milk so that the milk is thick, the rice is given up its starch, and together you get this dense, thick, amazing kheer that people cry over because it's better than any kheer they've had. It's a luxury of time. But those 8 hours you have to stand at the stove because if you don't stir, लग जाती है और फिर आप उनको कैरमल खीर दे रहे हैं जो जली हुई है. So it's a labor of love, and or I could be making sheer khurma, which is my favorite eat ki meethi sevai. So it depends on the mood. Food is so vast in its expanse, and so is the human mind. And when you cook, you should cook dependent on what's outside, what the weather is, what the mood is, what the season is, and what the cravings and hankerings of the people you're cooking for are. And that should define what your menu is.
But by naming all these dishes you have made my mouth water. Definitely. Even if I had lunch now, I'm hungry. Definitely once try your dish by you only, all of these dishes. We'll come to Devi once.
Devi is gone. Devi was in New York, and I have nothing there. You'll have to come to Numa in Mumbai in Colaba. It's one of the most iconic buildings of Bombay, and Karan Johar is the owner. We have incredible food at Numa. You can go to one-eight communes in the different cities that we are in. You can come to Jolene in Goa in Anjuna Beach. It's the most spectacularly beautiful restaurant that Goa has right now, and the food is incredibly delicious, made with love. Or you can find me somewhere and hope I invite you to my home and cook you something at home. So everything I do is now in India. I travel abroad to have fun, but India is home. India is where work is, and India is where I'm giving my heart and soul and hoping to make changes in the minds and hearts of young culinarians and humans with my column Slice of Life in Indian Express. Every Sunday, I hope to change people with one idea at a time. And if you don't read it, read it. The column is called Slice of Life. It's a food for thought, and I'm spending more time writing these days. I've written 7 books in the last 2 months. It's taken me many years to get to writing one, but when I wrote the first one 2 months ago, I've written 6 more after that. So I'm sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night and writing most of the time. And
We are going to come to all of your restaurants that you have named. But speaking of which, you have taught at the prestigious culinary institutes in the world, but you are a self-taught cook yourself. So for young students who are dreaming of culinary career today, do you think that formal education is still essential, or are life experiences and institution becoming the real teachers?
I'll be very unpopular with the culinary schools if I said the culinary schools aren't important. They are. But the most important training we give ourselves in life is the craving and hunger we have for discovery. Cooking schools teach you the art and craft of the trade, but I think of education in the liberal arts and education in the sciences and education in something you are scared to do will give you the tutelage that comes with an academic rigor that teaches you to think outside the box, that pushes you to expand your horizons, that makes you do things under pressure, under challenge that a good chef must learn how to do. So I think go to a cooking school, but only after you've educated yourself in another way for a few years, and that will make you a better chef. Because what you learn outside the kitchen is as important as what you learn in it. What the culinary school teaches you is paramount, but what you can learn from the school of hard knocks in life is equally as important. So if you can be punched around, knocked around, made to work hard and think smart and be practical and have strength of critical thinking that you bring to culinary education at a culinary school is sole pe suhaga. And that will make you that much better at your craft. Some of the greatest chefs have never seen the insides of a cooking school. But cooking schools have seen many great chefs come and teach there. So, cooking school is a great place, a stepping stone towards your journey in the culinary world, but also bless yourself perhaps with an education that takes you to places you are not very happy going, but you go, succeed, and triumph at because you bring perseverance, savvy, and integrity and desire to finish an act you've chosen to do. That will make you a stronger, smarter, a better chef and culinarian for sure.
Understood. And speaking of young people going into the culinary, we often live in an age where many young people feel that they're just measured in likes, comments, and how good their food looks on camera. So, as someone who has mastered the art of cooking and the modern platforms, do you believe that this era of viral food content is helping young chefs find their voice, or is it distracting from building the real skill, patience, and authenticity?
So, Instagram, social media, Twitter, they're not the culprit. Our attention spans are shrinking. Our hunger for celebrity is increasing. Our desire to learn, work hard, study, persevere is shrinking. So, and yes, cheer up for Murthy for sure. There's Janvi telling us to do that. So we have to be very, very focused on what we want to do. If you're a young culinarian coming of age, if you're a chef, if you're a teacher, educator, public speaker, if you're a politician, no matter what you do, there's so many distractions out there that make us chase what we think is easy. But life at its core, in its entirety, in its authentic self, is not a bed of roses. It's the thorns, it's the obstacles, it's the uh, meanderings that we don't choose but we get lost in, that we have to navigate our way out of. They not only control what we end up doing, but they also make us stronger in what we do in the end. So your focus should be your journey. Your focus should be your passion. Your focus should be serving, cooking, sharing delicious meals, irrespective of the celebrity, the stars, the accolades, the awards that you get or don't get. There are chefs who never get awarded in an entire lifetime of work, but they are rewarded every day with people with the biggest smiles of gratitude on their faces that tell them every day that you've cooked magic for me and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's more heartening for a chef than any award that a body can give. Most majority of the awards are bought today. They have no value. You have to look at the mirror on your own at the age of 80, 90, 100, 105 and see if you respect what you see as the reflection in the mirror. The mirror won't lie. इसको Iqbal Saab, Allama Iqbal, the national poet of Pakistan, but an Indian poet before partition, said beautifully, Aina-e-Haq is the mirror that doesn't lie, it gives you your truth. And the mirror is going to say to you, there's a beautiful shade that says, ये सुबह की सफेदियां, this clarity of the morning, ये दोपहर की सर्दियां, this धुंधलापन, this confusion of the day. मैं आईने में देखता हूँ मैं कहाँ चला गया. That I look at the mirror and wonder where have I gotten lost. The day began so clearly with crystal clarity. By the evening we are lost in all man-made rubbish. And then you look at the mirror and you wonder where did I get lost in the madness of the morning to the day. So you can't lose yourself to the noise, to the celebrity, to the wild goose chase of materialism. You, as young minds, as people who will lead our tomorrows, as future leaders, as future thought leaders of the planet, I hope you all will invest not in the awards and the accolades, but in reflection, in introspection, in professional hard work, in deep rooted integrity of how you research things and do you look at things in a holistic manner with truth being your guiding principle? Or are you swayed easily by the noise of celebrity and powerful people and people whose job is to pull you away from what your focus should be? So focus on your prize, which is your professional hard work, your professional commitment to your achieving what you set out to do, and to never lose yourself in the noise that doesn't bring any long-term satiety or pleasure or feeling of being fulfillment. So when you live your life with in a very Vedantic Gita Kasar way, the Gita tells you that Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, मैं यज्ञ में नहीं मिलता, मैं मंदिर में नहीं मिलता, मैं घंटियों में नहीं मिलता, मैं कर्म योगी में मिलता हूँ, कर्म योग. That I come to you by bhakti and karam yoga. So which doesn't require any spiritual Bhut parasti. You don't need to be idol worshipping, genuflecting in a mosque, doing ghantis at a temple, lighting candles at a church. That's not the core of humanity or the essence of all religions. Because they all tell us to be a good human, hardworking, and just be a good neighbor and be a good friend to a stranger and give comfort to a person suffering on the street and find love for a person living far away who is beyond a political divide. When we can find that humanity as a common ingredient amongst us all, we'll break bread, share food and stories that will unite us and keep the planet in good shape. And we'll all be working towards goals that are far more conducive to healthy living, smart living, and free living than ones where we tear each other apart and we're all then drawn into silos of hate and self-doubt and war at each other across borders. So I think just keep your focus on what you do with passion, do it with love, do it with full commitment to your craft, and remember that the other person sitting next to you, speaking in another language, eating a different kind of food, and praying in a different manner, is still a human, and what we share with them is humanity. We are all born bereft of names that can divide us, religions that can break us, or foods that are different. We are born human, and then the rest is all a stroke of a birth. या गरीब पैदा हो, अमीर पैदा हो, मुसलमान, Hindu, Sikh पैदा हो, we didn't choose that. The only thing we choose is to be human and decent, and we must all do that.
You mentioned that how one can. So you have cooked for food lovers around the world, but now I ask you as a citizen, not just as a chef, but like if you had to describe India as a recipe, what would the main be?
You're going in and out of signal, Murthy. A lot of what you said was garbled and lost.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I was saying that you have cooked food. You have cooked for food lovers around the world. But now, when we ask you as a citizen and not as a chef, if you had to describe India as a recipe, what would be the main ingredients be? And what spices would you increase? Which ones would you use in moderation? And what would you absolutely leave out to make our country stronger, kinder, and more united?
So India is not the land of mirchi. That came to us from Mexico. Lal mirchi, the hot pepper, is a foreign ingredient to us. I would say India is a recipe of moderation, is a recipe with myriad ingredients, with plurality of cooking practices, of ingredient riches, of spices. The one ingredient India borrowed from the West is mirchi. The second one is potato. And both of these can kill us. Potatoes, because they're a simple starch. Mirchi, because it's hot and spicy and pungent and can ruin everything if it's not moderately applied. So what Mother India is a smorgasbord, is a bhandar, is a pantry, is a larder of multitudes of everything. You can dream of an ingredient Mother India has. And the symphony of spices we have is mind boggling, and we have them all. So, what we need to do is pepper the heat of arguments, of division, of treating others as different with restraint. Mother India takes everything. We absorb mirchi, but we use it judiciously. So Hindustan, India, Bharat, and the nation we all call home, and I'm a citizen, very proud one of it. The beauty of India is that we are feminine. We are Mother India, Bharat Mata. And this Mata knows what humanity is all about. Mata brings forth the life. She doesn't discriminate. Doesn't matter if the child is this, that, or the other. If the child speaks one tongue or another. Mother India shines when all her children shine. Mother India smiles when none of her children are wanting. Mother India grins with a big show of teeth that are shining when all her children can speak in the multiple languages they want to speak in. So for us, we should be a mosaic. We should be a thali. We are not a biryani. We brought that from overseas. We love it and it's yummy. But biryani should be one of our many things in a thali. Because in our thali is all the color, aplomb, and texture, and flavor, and nuance, and plurality that Mother India stands for. And in a thali, you can keep adding more. So our thali should be an Akshay Patra of food with unending supply of multitudes of choices, where heat is always moderated because we don't want to ever be too much for anybody. But we should accept, and we are sponges. Mother India is also a sponge. It's like that sponge cake where you can put fruits and cream and all kinds of flavoring and it absorbs it and only makes the end result better. So for me, Mother India is a ever expanding thali, a great indulgence, a smart indulgence, and बिखरे बिखरे तारे हैं हम लेकिन झिलमिल एक हैं हम सब भारतीय हैं. That we are a constellation of stars that shines brighter in our unison. We could be a star alone, but we go on and off. But in the constellation of all of us shining bright together, we are better still. So think of India as a mosaic, not as a melting pot. In a mosaic, every piece has its own place, and together the piece is richer still. So that's how I look at India.
Very, very, very well said. I mean, it was very well said, and it, concludes that why India is so much diverse. But coming to my last round, which is a rapid fire round, that is the most exciting part about this. I love rapid fire. So what I will be doing is I will be saying a word, and whatever is the first thing that comes into your mind, you can just say it out. So the first word is masala.
India.
Farm. Farm.
Organic.
Fusion.
Confusion.
Ghee. Ghee.
Indulgent.
Resilience. Resilience.
Most important.
India.
Vibrant.
Youth.
Essential.
And last but not the least, that is this platform which is called as IIMU.
An exemplary example of the youth taking charge of their future by investing in one another, in principles that are stretching their imagination, that bring them both closer to themselves and take them far and wide to learn about themselves. And I think you all are doing a tremendous job, and I hope more of us get touched by your lives at I.I.M.U.N. and we learn from you that the world is not as dark and dreary as we think it is, and that tomorrow can be very vibrant and rich. We just have to give tomorrow a chance by being more expansive in our thought and vision today and be more inclusive and welcoming to one and all.